What is up, and welcome to another edition of the Thursday Night Grind. Here we are on episode 30. That's pretty great. It is July 23rd, 2020, and this is another one of those videos where I sharpen something on the bench at the American Edge, which is my sharpening business in New Hampshire. Today, no exception. We got a Bowie knife. We're going to do a little bit of special work to this, which I'll get into in 1 second, but I would be remiss if I did not include that this Thursday Night Grind is brought to you by the Guild of Professional Sharpeners. If you want to learn how to sharpen and turn that into a monetized skill with a community of people pursuing the same thing, there's no place better to be than the Guild of Professional Sharpeners. You can learn more about that at theguildofsharpeners.org. Some stuff going on over there this week. First off is after that conversation with WorkSharp, I have been dreaming about this system that is remarkably faster than the one that I was using. And I tried that out, and I've done a few different evolutions with it, and I provided the guild an update of where that stands, and it has potential to be relatively game-changing in my own business, but maybe not for everybody, right? So too much there to get into here, but if you want to know more about that, make sure you go check out the guild. I want to welcome Greg. He's a new dude in the guild. He's going to be starting a sharpening business in Texas, and I'm excited to see what he's going to build. And then I do just want to share this article that Doug put together, which is great, about connecting with customers through kitchen knives, with a bunch of resources about how we as sharpeners can build really relationships and community around the business that we're building. We add value to our customers, and we can potentially be reimbursed for adding that value. Even if not, there's still reasons to do so. Okay, so now that's it. That's what's going on at the guild this week. There's a bunch more, but that's it for today. I do want to talk a little bit about this Bowie knife. First, let's not get too far past this knife carries more value than what you'd find if you were to go look for it somewhere for sale, right? Because this is the knife handed down from a grandfather to grandson. That alone, like, you can't replace that, right? Like, you can't buy that. So I'm honored, genuinely honored, to have the opportunity to work on this knife. And we're gonna do a few things sort of special to bring it back to life. Before we do that, I just want to get the close-up on the bench. So let's go to the bench. Okay, here we are on the bench. I've been getting a few knives that need to be kind of like the refurbished thing, or reconditioned. So I'm not sure how that word got out, but it's pretty good. This one was, the owner asked me to clean it up a little bit, and actually compared to what I've been seeing, this is not in bad shape, but I will try to remove some of the scratches off of the primary bevel right there. I also asked if I could put a choil in, and that's the big thing I wanted to show you today. I want to cut a choil in this Bowie knife, and I'll show you how I do that. And then the rest of it will be relatively standard sharpening. We're going to cut a bevel on the 1x30, and I think I will take it to the Edge Pro. I was thinking about doing the work sharps, but I've decided that I want to do the polished finish on the Edge Pro for this. All right, so I'll show you what I'm currently doing to work on polishing up that primary bevel right there. All right, I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of this video, but what I got here is 600 and 2000 grit wet dry sandpaper, and that is what I'm going to be using to see if I can bring a little bit of that scratch pattern out of the primary grind on that knife. Another way to do this could be to set that, secure the paper to the I think it's coming along. I'll spend a little time working that, and you can see I'm favoring some spots over others, so we'll see if I can make that look good. And then I'll check in with you when we move on to the next step, which I believe I'm going to be cutting the choil next. I'm actually kind of satisfied with how that came out. I think it is not perfect, but it is significantly improved. And this is the question of the day to you guys. Right as you're hitting the subscribe and thumbs up button, could you also leave a comment on what would you do to continue to clean up the surface finish of this knife? Please let me know in the comments. All right, let's move on to the next step. Okay, so this is a Thursday night grind debut, cutting a choil. What you're looking at is a Dremel tool with a 5/32 chainsaw sharpening bit in it. So we'll just turn this on and you'll see how this goes. So here's what I try to do with a choil, and you can let me know what you try to do as well. So I try to send the cut right down the center of where the blade, the grind is cut to where the flat portion is. And only go in as far as I have to, right? Like I just want to get past the bevel, where I cut the bevel for where I will cut the bevel for the cutting edge. And that's it. Maybe it feels okay. I might try to clean up those edges with the sandpaper, but that's it. That's cutting a choil. And then I suppose we should talk about why we do that. So now when I put a stone on here, if that choil was not cut, what would happen is let's just get a stone. Okay, so here's what would happen if we just had the stone and no choil. As it comes over, this corner of the stone starts lifting up. It lifts up, and then what happens is you're cutting with this edge of the stone, and when it lifts up, you're cutting with this edge of the stone. So you end up bellying out the blade right here. So by cutting a choil, the stone can stay flat all the way up to the entire, along the whole length of the cutting edge. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope you can see why we do that and how I do it. Okay, let's go cut a bevel on the 1x30. As I've been thinking about this blade, I think I'm gonna explore doing a compound bevel. So I got my 120 stone on here at the moment on the Edge Pro, and I got it, I'm at about 23 degrees, which I already set up, but I kind of expected that coming off of the 1x30. So I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna cut a bevel on either side with the 120 stone. Here's my plan, and I might change this as I go, but then I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna take this to 600 grit, then I'm gonna come up on the post a little bit. I'm gonna come up on the post for the equivalent of a degree or two, and then cut another bevel all the way around. So I'm going to just do this, and I'll be back in with you in just a minute. Checking back in with you here. So I just did the primary bevel to 600 grit, right? So I wanted to talk through in a little more detail what my plan is here. So now, like, that's a screaming sharp knife. That's good. But I want to do something else. I want to put a compound bevel on it. And what that means is now I'm going to come up on the angle a little bit and put another smaller bevel just at the very edge of it, and then I'll refine that all the way up to 6,000 is the plan. So the way I do that, everything here stays the same. This, I just bring my post up. Yeah, you can see that. I'll come out a little bit. Bring the post up about right there, just a small amount. Since that edge is already fine at 600, I'm just going to start at 600. Take a little stroke here and have a gander at it. Yeah, so now I'm cutting just at the very edge of the knife. Take a close look at the tip here. It looks like definitely more of an impact over here, less of an impact of the change in height. I'm going to come up just a skosh more. Same thing on this side. Yeah, that's nice. I'm going to make sure I'm getting my burr up. Real nice. All right. And now we work our way. All right, I got to set my stop here. Okay, so now I work my way up in stone just at that very edge. I'm going to do 1100, 4000, 6000. And I did get some good feedback from the last video I did. You can go check out a polished finish on some fixed blade carry knives. And the feedback was to do a crosshatch pattern because it was clear to that viewer that I had not removed all the scratches from the previous stone. All right, so while I'm doing this, I'm just going to yammer for a minute about why I might do a compound bevel. One reason is that you get by going up an angle, in theory, you get a more resilient edge, right? Like the old machete versus razor blade, like the razor blade edge, you put any load on that and it's going to fall right over, fold over. Whereas with the machete, you make it really a very steep bevel angle, and because that way it can hold up to the abuse that the chopping action that you get when you're using a machete. Second reason would be for maintenance. Now you have a much smaller bevel, and that's where the cut initiates, and that smaller bevel, meaning the distance measured this way on the bevel, is much smaller. So when you're doing your stropping or honing, there's that much. It's significantly less bevel that you're working with. So easier to maintain. So what do we say? Stronger, easier to maintain. And then the thing that can be hard, which is not always well understood with the reason we need the shaft collar on this rig, is when you're working with a really big bevel, you have to still sharpen. Your stone needs to get all the way to the very edge of the knife. And when you're working with a big bevel, sometimes it can be not totally clear and sometimes hard to get the stone to get all the way to the very edge. Okay, so there's at least a few reasons: maintenance, durability, and then ultimately performance right out the gate. So I'm on my 4000 grit stone here. If I put up a little burr with it, I'm going to cut it off right now. I'm going to do a honing stroke down each side. And now move up to the 6000 grit tape. 6000 grit tape gets worked dry. I've been trying to keep everything dry because I didn't tape the blade. So, and I want to minimize the amount of wear or scratch marks, on the face of the knife. 6000 grit tape. Remember, pull stroke only to get rolling. No pressure down. And then polish that edge. Check out this side. Pull strokes. I'm not pushing down at all on this tape. And a honing stroke on each side as well with the tape. Okay, let's see if we can blind you with that glimmer off of the edge of the knife here. See if I can get me to zoom in on that. You getting that? That's nice. Okay, so that is kind of, in my opinion, a pretty dynamite edge. Hopefully, I mean, it's grabbing enough to shave my fingernail there. Sorry, the focus is falling out. Ooh, I almost don't want to do it. Yeah, all right, that's sharp. All right, good stuff. How do you like the choil? Do you notice how nice that was, sharpening with a choil? Man, definitely consider putting one of those in. See if we can get extreme close up. I also wanted to just apply a little bit of camellia oil. I'll show you the way I do that. I usually don't do this on video, but I remembered tonight. Just a little dollop, a little drop, and then I rub it in, being careful not to cut myself again, especially on this side. Okay. And then just kind of rub that in. Beauty. So there you have it, sharpening Grandpa's Bowie knife. We cut a choil, we did a compound bevel, we put a mirror finish on that cutting edge. Make sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and right after you do, go text your buddy, hey man, I'm gonna start a sharpening business. And I'll see you over at the Guild of Professional Sharpeners at guildofsharpeners.org. Thanks, till next week.